Recording. Okay. All right. So, I drew the lots up on the board, obviously, and I think it'd be smart to set out a roadmap of what we should talk about and where we should go with it.
Sure.
So, what I was thinking was start off by talking about first which lots we're in. Chuck's interested in.
Okay.
To start with, and after we get through the lots, I guess conditions on the lots, because there's a building on 234 that it seems Chuck's interested in.
Yep.
And then possibly any, I guess, miscellaneous client interest that Chuck has or that Amy has, and then stuff regarding the actual contract itself. Is there anything that you, like a specific topic that's not followed under one of these things that you?
More might come up.
Okay.
There might be subcategories, but yeah, I think that's a really good skeleton.
Okay. All right. Okay. So starting with lots, Chuck, which lots is he interested in, and is it more than one? Is it two?
Yeah, he's interested in 234 and then the neighboring lot 232.
Okay. And Chuck wants to. Well, what's his interest in it? It's from what I got, it's a catering business. Is that
he's
all it is, or?
That's what he wants to use it for, and he would want to be converting part of 232 into essentially a small parking lot for one or two cars, just for his personal use.
Okay. Because from what I've gathered, it seems that there's no parking on 234.
Right.
It's just the building.
Right.
Okay. So I guess I'll start by mentioning also Amy's interest, my client. We have another offer right off the bat. So that's nothing that I wanted to keep disclosed to push your budget or anything.
Sure.
We were offered from a LC Van Patten, who's a major real estate developer, $136,000 for just lot 34 or 234. Sorry.
Okay.
So that was their baseline offer. Now, Amy doesn't really want to sell it to them. She doesn't know what he's going to do with it. She'd rather sell to your client, Chuck, because ultimately it seems that the catering business would be helpful to the business altogether.
Okay.
For the overall lots. Now, after having said that, what is, if you feel comfortable telling me, and if you do tell me, I'll make sure that we don't push the envelope on what your budget would be. What's Chuck's overall budget for this, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah,
you can say
sure.
no, but
Right. So
I just really want this deal to go through with Chuck and not Van Patten.
I see. And Chuck is looking at a number of different locations right now. He really likes this one, especially because of its proximity to the park, which is a really attractive feature for him. He's obviously going to have to do some renovations to the building if he were to purchase the lot, and he would have to do buy, no matter where he moves, a bunch of equipment. So that's also factoring into his decision making.
Okay.
I guess when we pulled some information for the recent sales of properties around the area.
Okay.
It's really hard because obviously none of those are perfect examples and they have different features and sizes. I thought Crestwood.
You're talking about option C? Or lot, yeah, 416 Crestwood Street?
Yeah, that and the above, the
412.
Yeah, 412
Okay.
and 416 were pretty good examples. No parking, and similar lot sizes. I figured that back in the day, and when I was figuring these prices, I was including 232 and 234, combining them to match the square feet of the lot size of these.
Okay.
And I figured out with inflation adjusted, lot B would have sold for about 150, and that would have been with or I'm sorry, lot B would have been about $150,000 today with the interest and inflation adjusted. Again, that's only really a rough estimate because the lots are different and obviously times are different. Real estate market's different now.
Okay.
He would really like. He was looking at lot 232 and thinking somewhere around maybe 25,000, and he was thinking for lot 234 somewhere around 90,000. And those are not fixed numbers, but with both of them, I don't. It's not going to be going up too much from there. We don't have a lot of wiggle room based on all the other things that he's going to have to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, the only issue I have with that is that Amy's explicitly said to me that she doesn't want to sell lot 232 for anything less than $50,000.
50. Okay.
Yeah, that's what she's looking at as far as 232 is concerned.
Okay.
She really doesn't want to sell lot 232 at all, to be honest with you. That's something that, it creates a big problem because we have this parking issue.
Yep.
So I think that where we should start at is that, like, just focusing on just 234 itself and then moving into 232. As far as 234 is concerned,
Yeah.
she's willing to sell for a lot less than what Van Patten offered, which was 136.
Okay.
And she's also willing to do the renovations for Chuck, which would be done in 1 month.
Okay.
And so what she was looking for just 234, and I know this creates a parking issue, which we can get into.
Right.
Because it seems like that's the biggest problem for your client, Chuck, correct?
Yeah.
This issue of he doesn't have anywhere to park, which can be a problem. And I totally understand that. But for the lot itself, what she wanted was somewhere between 114 to 120,000 for just 234.
114.
Yeah, for 234. Is that something that Chuck would not be? Is that like you can't budget on that?
Yeah.
Is that too high?
I think that's going to be out of his limits based on all the other stuff that he needs to spend on removing the business. I'm trying to think if we're not doing lot 232, what other parking alternatives do you have as suggestions?
One of my suggestions would be that because Amy wants to keep 230 and 232, she has plans to develop the property in her own interest, which she doesn't want to be disclosed for a couple of reasons. One being that she doesn't want to sell this property to Chuck and have him know what she's doing with it as to take her ideas. I know it's a catering company, but that's not necessarily set in stone. I know that he wants the kitchen renovations for the catering company, but there could also be additions to it. So she wanted to keep it disclosed. She also wants to keep attention away from the property itself, as to not let people know that there's all these buying and selling things going on. She wants to keep it just kind of on the low, I guess, and keep publicity away from it for her own reasons. What I was thinking was that if we do a sale on lot 234, she could do the renovations for decently cheap herself, and she doesn't plan on doing anything on 230 or 232 for at least a year. So maybe we could put in a clause where you could use 232 for parking for a year or so for free if you wanted, possibly until until Chuck can figure out what or figure out a way to park on another piece of land, give him time to figure it out. I don't know if that's something he'd be willing to do,
Yeah.
Let
me just read over some of my notes.
Okay,
here
that's
make
fine.
Sure that's something that might be just making sure
that was just one of the approaches I was looking at.
yeah, I mean, I think this might. Let's see here. So what is let's go back to 234 for a second. What is
It's talking about lot 234. Okay.
yeah, you said her bottom line is 114.
Yeah, she doesn't want to sell it for. It seems that she has kind of a personal vendetta with Van Patten. Doesn't really like him. When I spoke with her, she said that she doesn't want to sell it for anything more than 19,000 less than what he offered, which would actually be 117. However, I think she would be okay with using my personal judgment with somewhere even $3,000 less than that, just because the catering business isn't going to be lucrative for the business market on this street right here, which is, I think, pretty sure it's Beechwood, and would be willing to do the, no, I lied, that's Eastview Street. No, it's Beechwood. 114, and then, well, I just want to ask you a quick question first. How much money does Chuck have for renovations if he was going to do it himself?
So
Just renovations for the building and
Yeah.
the plumbing and electrical.
I mean, he pretty much has. He's expecting to spend at least $16,000 on renovations, and then and this has nothing to do really on your part, but about $32,500 on equipment and installation.
Okay, so the total cost, I mean, and this is taking into account the Class 3 kitchen, the electrical, and the plumbing. That's the renovations we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that. So the total would be then what? So you said 15, and then 32.5.
Yeah, we had 16 and 32.5.
Okay, 16 and 32.5. So that's 48.5.
Yeah.
Okay. And he obviously would be doing that himself. What if on lot 234? Because the problem is that Amy's not going to budge on the 50,000 for 232.
Right.
That's just something that she's not willing to compromise on. Which, if that's something that Chuck really, really can't live without, it might be possible that we might not reach a resolution today.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I'm just trying to work every way I can with you under lot 234. What if we knock the let's just say the lot was let's just say 114 for the lot as of right now as a hypothetical. We can run with that. 114 for the lot itself.
Okay.
If Amy were to do the renovations, she could get it done within a month, and it would include the Class 3 kitchen, the plumbing, the electrical, and I'm assuming it's the same. It's would be the same. There's nothing more you need to do.
Right.
She could probably do it for. Let's see, for you to 48.5. What about knocking it down to, let's say, grab a calculator really quick. One second. You said is it 48? Well, you said 48.5, right?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see, 11 and I'm just crunch these numbers really quick.
Oh yeah. No, take your time.
33. What if Amy knocked it down to instead of 48.5 to 46 flat, and they were done in a month
46 flat for the.
for all the renovations? You get the Class 3 kitchen, the electrical and the plumbing, and I'm assuming that it includes all the insulation and everything that you would need.
Okay, so she'd be installing. Yeah, she would be completing all the renovation work and then installing the kitchen equipment.
Yeah, the Class 3 kitchen, the standards that need to be up to.
For 46 flat,
Yeah,
and then we're looking at a 114 price for the 234.
yeah. Just trying to run with this really quick as a hypothetical. That would be
Yeah.
2, 4, 5. That'd be 4. That'd be 160 on the dot for 234, plus the renovations of everything that's on there that he would need. Is that something that, although, let's just start with the price. Is that a price that would fit his budget for 234 or no?
Yeah, I think we're getting closer.
Okay.
Obviously, the one thing on my mind is still parking.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 minute to read over
No,
this.
that's fine. I know the parking seems like that's going to be the critical issue here.
Yeah. Sorry, it's just trying to get a good understanding of.
Yeah,
My client
and
wants.
that could also that price could also be knocked down too by another 3,000 under like a restriction. I don't know if that's something Chuck would be willing to do, but my client expressed a concern about us like signs that go up for Chuck's catering business. Obviously, he wants to promote his business and have people know that that's his catering. But what she said was if Chuck would be willing to have no sign on his business for like a year or two, then we can knock 3,000 off the overall price. And if he's willing to abide by just a 3x2 sign, which I'm assuming is feet, 3 feet by 2 feet, we can knock $1,000 off of it,
Okay.
off the overall price. I don't know if it seems like Chuck might have a problem with not putting any sign up. That could be an issue.
Yeah, I think he'd like to have a sign up.
Okay.
We can definitely maybe work out the size of it if that's
Okay.
important to your client.
It seems, yeah. And then, what's I gonna say? Yeah, just the 3x2, and then another condition on the renovations. If Amy's gonna do the renovations for him, she has her own personal contractors that she's doing. She's willing to go over the plans with him, but doesn't want Chuck actually stepping on the work site itself at any point while work's going on. because she wants to avoid any potential lawsuit. She doesn't want him tripping and falling and having a negligence tort suit against her. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. And he can come and look at the updates on it, just not while the work's being done.
Yeah, I think that's completely fine.
Okay.
With my client, the only thing that he would like to supervise is the installation of the kitchen
Okay.
parts, and I mean, even if if you didn't want him physically on the site, maybe we could like set up a camera or something so we could, or we could have
that's
some
totally
type
fine.
of process where he could
Yeah.
review certain steps along the way to make sure everything's
Yeah.
being installed the way that he'd like.
Yeah, we could even parse it out into like certain parts. Like, okay, do the installation for this portion. After that portion's done, after the work's done, he can come on the site, look at it, and if it hopefully meets his standards, then do the second part, have him come and look at it, have like a checks and balances approach. She was just very adamant about no appearance while work's being done at any portion. So after it's completed, one single portion, he can come on and look at it if that is something that. But as far as those are just the conditions that would be attached to the 234, because unless Chuck can offer, 50 grand for the 232, I don't think he was going to budge on it. And I feel like if we're going to go for 234, even for 110,000, I don't think would Chuck even be able to spend 160 grand on both lots, including or excluding any renovation.
No.
That wouldn't be in his budget.
No.
Right?
So you said that that your client has plans to renovate or at some point do something with lot 232 in the future.
She wants to develop on 230 and 232 for her own personal interest. I was advised to keep it disclosed as to what she wanted to do with it.
What is the size of 232?
Do you know if it said that in? Did you get the size in your sheet?
The only description. Let's see. Actually, maybe it is.
I don't think I got that in mind. The only thing I got was
1,500 square feet.
Okay, 1,500. I only got that it was that 234 was about 3,000 square feet.
So 232 is about 1,500 square feet.
Wait, hold on, maybe I'm sure it's
What's going on in here?
Gordon.
Gordon,
For what?
say hi to Professor Schneider. Well, hello. Hello, junior associate.
Yeah, sign over that.
Later.
Yeah.
Did you say it's 1,500 square feet?
That's what. Here, this is.
I did not.
Here's
I didn't get that number anywhere.
right there. That.
Oh, on the back there. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, you're right. It's on the back there. Okay. Yeah, so 1,500.
Now, I don't know if you have the authorization or if your client would be interested, but obviously the only the strong attraction for us to buy that lot is to have a small bit of it to be able to park the catering car and his personal vehicle on. I don't know, 1,500 square feet. That would seem like it would be able to be divided up in such a way where if we were to buy just like have some type of right of what is it my property
I'm not just like buying a portion of the.
yeah, or just having being able to have a contract or rent out a little bit of that space to be able to park the cars on. Because I don't know if she's planning on building on the entire lot. Or...
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't. It seems that when she does and if she does decide to develop it, from what I got was that I don't think there's going to be any parking space on either of 230 or 232 because it's not the purpose that she's going to use it for.
Okay.
It seems like.
Because eventually it would be really nice, and I think it would actually raise the value of the property itself and all the adjacent properties if there were to be some type of commercial parking, I don't know if she has any plans to put some type of parking for, if she has any parking plans for her future developments there. Is it going to be a residential? Is it going to be commercial? Or is she not wanting to disclose that?
I don't think she wants to disclose what she wants to use it for.
Mm-hmm.
She never indicated whether 232 was going to have any parking spots, although I think you could surmise whether it's residential or commercial based off that statement.
Yeah.
Because if it's residential, that includes a parking spot, right?
Right.
So, I guess now there's no point in hiding it. It's going to be used for commercial purposes, but
Sure.
what her commercial purposes are for, she doesn't want me to disclose.
Fair enough. And I mean, we would have no problem with that.
I know. I really wish I could know if that would be a thing she'd willing to do. I think that from what I've gathered from the facts and after interviewing or reading her transcripts, is that once she starts to develop it, I don't think she wants anybody else's stuff on it. But would be willing to allow parking for an entire year, or at least a year. She doesn't plan to develop it for at least 1 year. So would be willing to let him park on it for a year, or it could be up to 2 years for free.
Does she own any of these other lots around here besides 234, 232, and 230?
No, she only owns 230, 232, and 234. Those are the three she owns. And that Van Patten dude bought out this lot 236 and wants 234
I see.
to develop it, which she is strongly against, and would most likely ultimately crush whatever she wanted to do with 230 and 232. So I think we're hitting a ridge here with this parking.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're both.
You want to? 5-minute break?
Sure, if you want to. It doesn't matter to me.
Um,
I know we're both working very creatively because I think, our clients have pretty strong ideas about what they want. And honestly, I will admit, it's tough on my part to understand because I am not able to reach my client. He wished not to be involved in the negotiations at all.
yeah.
So, I don't know if you're in a similar situation, but I don't want to overstep my boundaries.
No, that's understandable.
Um,
I mean, yeah, and the reason I don't want to say I think we're both in a similar position because I don't want to overstep anything that Amy wants because we've done work with Amy for years and years, and she has more properties and whenever she wants something sold or bought, she always comes to our firm. So I don't want to tarnish a long-standing relationship by, promising Chuck that we can divide 232 when in actuality we can't. I don't want to make a promise that I can't keep in this instance. So, I mean, is Chuck pretty set on if he can't get 232 for parking, then there's no...
It's not, it's very important to him that he gets the parking simply because, the nature of his business requires him to be taking food in and out of the truck. And, having to go carry that a block across the street every time, assuming that, in a year or two she does develop that property and he has to park a block away or so, that would be something that, he would like to avoid.
I mean, what if we... Because, I mean, obviously the parking thing's the biggest issue here. How much less would I have to offer for lot 234 to make up for the parking. Is there a number on that? Could you estimate a number? Because right now we have it
Yeah.
at 160, right?
Yeah.
And at with the 160 price, my client would be making a $5,000 profit off of the renovations.
Yeah, I mean the toughest part is if we were to be buying 232, we would need it to be at least less than 30,000. And it sounds like that's going to be really difficult, given what your client wants for that lot. And then if we don't do 232, it's all about finding a situation with parking that fits his long-term and short-term needs. And obviously the short-term seems really good, but
I mean, the problem is that the fact pattern doesn't speak as to whether there's going to be parking on 232.
like I
And
was,
if there was parking, I would, assuming there is parking, I'd be willing to, because you only have two things you have to park, right?
is there parking on 230?
I mean, I don't think
It,
the record.
it doesn't tell you.
Not from what I got from it. If there is parking on those, like I'd be so willing to say, yeah, he can pay for parking, have a parking spot there. But I don't think it speaks to any parking on those. Yeah, I don't think
And
there's
we
any-
don't know if there's on the street parking closer. I mean, I saw that there was something a block away, and I don't know if you had anything in your facts about, like right next to the lots, if you're allowed to park on like Beechwood Drive.
If nothing on the street parking. I know I'm pretty much 100% sure that there's definitely gonna be no parking on 230 or 232 once she starts developing it, but it gives a window of a year or two for him to park on and get his business going to figure out where a place he could park if there is possible on the street parking. But 230 and 232 are straight off limits for any sort of parking when she starts developing it for whatever she wants to do with it.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I guess one possible solution would be if they agree that if the property on 232, I mean, okay, so here's the concerns that are running through my head. Number one is if he purchases 234 and he's operating his business there, and you say that he can park on 232 so long as that she's not developing. She may decide a week into that she actually does now want to sell that property to someone who offers her a ton of money for it, and then there's no more free parking or any situation for my client. The other fear is that she may want to develop a lot sooner than she thought, and a week or two into it, she wants to start digging on that property, and then he won't be able to park there.
We can write a contract if I don't remember contracts from when I year that well, but if I'm sure we could sign a contract that says no development on that property and no selling of the property for a year to guarantee that.
Do you think that would be okay with your client?
That would be okay with my client because she wants to use the proceeds from 234 not only to develop 230, 232, but the majority of the money is actually going to her other properties that she's working on now. So those are her main focus. This is kind of her afterthought. She wants 230 and 232 to be like her final project, to like what she does with it and what she's always wanted to do with it. But she has a lot of other interests in other properties as of right now. So it would be fine to sign something to guarantee parking for at least a year.
What if so the wheels are just turning here, and I'm just throwing stuff out here.
That's
But
fine.
what if we were to be able to agree on the rest of the numbers? Maybe we could make a contingent agreement on you taking the proposed agreement to your client and asking her in her future development plans,
Mhm.
if it would be okay, or if she would want to build in some type of like underground parking or some type of small parking structure on 232 or 230.
Yeah.
Preferably, actually, it would have to be 232 because then he's still carrying stuff over lots. And if that's okay with her, and if she plans on including parking in that he could have 2 spaces,
Yeah.
then that would be acceptable to us. But I really do think I would be overstepping if I didn't
Yeah.
make sure my client has the parking that is really important to them.
Okay, so it seems no, I see what you're saying. So we're kind of at the end of the road where it's like, okay, if my client okays the parking on 232, and guarantees him those spots for his business, then you'd be willing to go forward with the offer, and if not, then your client just doesn't want any part of it. Is that kind of what we're looking at? Like a contingent thing like that, and if not, then no agreement's going to be reached.
Yeah, because like I know
which I totally understand. I get that.
Yeah, like I with your situation right here, I don't know if you have the authorization to just say, yeah, in her future building plan, she'll
Totally.
absolutely include a parking structure.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if we like tentatively agreed on anything,
Totally understand.
it would still have to go through her. And maybe
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe that is the best we could do today, given both
Yeah.
of what our clients are looking for.
Okay.
But I'm still trying to figure out here. So if we did, I'm trying to remember the early offer. It was 46,000.
Oh, yeah, I have it just right up here.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It'd be 114 for the property itself, 46 for the renovations that she'd be doing, and everything would be done in a month. She probably less than a month, but a month for certain. So it'd be 160 total, and then along with that would be obviously the building contingencies we talked about as far as on-site for your client not being allowed to come during work, and then also what we've yet to talk about is the sign,
Right.
to knock some money off of it.
Let's say that we did the 3 feet by 2 feet, so it'd be 159.
Yeah, you can knock 1,000 off, which would for the sign compensation, which would be we got 159 total for everything to be done, and then including with that, let me just double check my rep plan really quick. We would have also a I guess a confidentiality clause, so as to not allow Chuck to say anything for at least a year that the property was sold. I mean, obviously people are going to know if he starts building on it,
Yeah.
but we just don't want him to reveal that there's a deal that's been done. The main reason is because my client's worried about Van Patten learning of the sale, then going to Chuck, and after offering us 136, going and maybe offering like 200,000 for it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's what she's worried about, is Van Patten figuring it out. So I don't know. So the contract would include a confidentiality clause to not reveal any sale for at least, at minimum, hopefully 6 months. But obviously, he's going to figure out before then, once the renovation, or once he starts advertising his business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and in the 159 would be well, I guess the free parking thing wouldn't matter because you want the parking on 232.
Yeah, and I mean,
I see what you're
just
saying.
being completely transparent with you, the other
Gotcha.
property that we're looking at
Mm-hmm.
does have space for 2 cars, and
Mm-hmm.
is cheaper than what we're talking right now. And so, my client's
Totally.
honestly, my client was initially attracted to the property just because he wanted to, or was interested in rather paving and using 232 as a parking spot for him, and then the other thing was the proximity to the park, which
Yeah.
he was really interesting to him.
So okay, but just going. So okay, so it seems that we're pretty set on just a contingent contract, right?
Yeah, I mean the only other thing, I guess I'm thinking of other ways, like if your client is stuck on that $50,000 figure for 232 and that $114,000 figure for 234, I'm trying to think if that could be either stretched out over time or if
As far as
there's
like the
on-
payments are concerned.
yeah, or is she totally fixed on having that be the upfront payment for those properties?
Well, she didn't really give a time for the money being put in. She was the only other thing she wanted was just a down payment to show that he was good for the money.
Mm-hmm.
What we were looking for as far as the down payment was concerned was somewhere between 10 and 20,000, preferably 15 up front.
Okay. Yeah, as the down payment.
Yeah, just for for the deal itself. She just wants like a guaranteed portion because it is a lot of money.
Yeah.
She doesn't really know a lot about Chuck, and it seems like neither of us really know a lot about Chuck from the fact pattern.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess she would be getting paid up front by the bank, and it would
Yeah,
just
exactly.
be Chuck taking out the loan.
Right. I mean, he would be paying directly my client, and he'd be paying
Right.
the bank. So
Right.
I don't know if we would have any say over. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I don't know if we have any say over if he can, parse these payments out over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that'd be something I'd be willing to work with, but I don't know if that's, unless we want to do a personal contract, but I don't think that's the case because my client's expressed her need for the money itself
Mm-hmm.
for the other properties.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe it's not through the bank because she said she wanted a down payment. Chuck wouldn't be giving a down payment if it's through the bank, right?
Right.
So, did it say anything in your fact pattern whether Chuck's paying for this himself or whether it's going through the bank? Because that's a big thing. If it's going,
I was under the impression that Chuck would be going through the bank.
yeah, that's what I'm figuring. I mean, I'm not really the biggest expert on real estate, but I mean, if she's asking him for money down, she definitely wants a good sized deposit from him.
Right.
So if it's through him solely, which I don't think that's how it actually works with properties,
Yeah. That.
yeah,
It's sort of conflicting information that we have.
yeah. I mean, I think that I want to reach a resolution, but that parking thing is just really a thorn that's sticking
Right.
out on that road. So, I guess what we could walk away with here is a contingent contract if my client's willing to have, when she develops it, parking for him. We could run those numbers, draw that up, and if not, then we could both walk away, and we could also write one for the lots if he wants to buy it for him to make payments over time if it's not done through the bank. Because I don't know if it says that would be, it's got to be one or the other, but it doesn't say which one's going through.
What if okay, what if let's see.
What do you think?
Let me
That's cool. Throw anything at me. I'm down for the cause.
trying to think how this would work with the bank. Yeah, I don't think there's any way it's gonna work. I was trying to see. I was trying to see if he could give you a lower, like a, and I already kind of assumed this wouldn't work out, but like a $30,000 upfront payment towards 232, and then pay monthly, like $400 a month for 5 years to fill the rest of that 50,000, or however we wanted to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
But that far exceeds with the cost of renovations and everything else, what my client's looking for.
Okay.
So
You want to just stick with the contingent on going back and talking?
yeah,
about
I would say let's, and we don't even have to do anything contingently. Let's just kind of like outline what we were talking about, and you can go back to your client. I'll go back to my client,
Okay.
kind of discuss it with them. I think
Cool.
that would be the best
I think so too.
solution for now.
Yeah, I mean, I know I would be willing to work with the 232. I just know she just was very adamant about not budging on the price for it because, for what she wants to do with it that's like I guess her lifelong goal.
Yeah,
and
for
she'd
sure.
only be willing to part ways if it was that much or 50,000. So okay.
Yeah, we completely.
All right, so then it would be we have 114 for the 234 lot itself, right?
Yep.
Okay, so 234, 114 grand, and then with the renovations would be 46. And so she'd be profiting 14 that, and then 35 grand off that. So that's 160. And then we said the comply with 3x2 sign.
Yeah, so we got 159, and then it would be, I'd want you to go back to her and ask, number one, if it would be if they could sign a contract that he would be able to park there for at least 1 year. Number two, and these are all just kind of questions. Number two, would she be interested in giving him the right of first refusal to buy 232 in the future after a year or whatever? And obviously that's only if she decides to sell it to someone else, not keep it. Obviously, if she wanted to keep it, he would have no say. But if she decides to sell it, he would have right of first refusal. And then the third one was whether she would, in her future plans for construction, whether she's including parking, and if so, if they could maybe work out a deal there. Then I think that's something that he might be interested in as well.
For just buying like a permanent spot.
Yeah, like parking there for a year or whatever, and then once she develops the property, obviously there would be some interim time there where he might not be able to park on it while it's being developed, but then afterwards, being able to have two parking spaces on 232.
Yeah. So so when I go back to the first thing I need to ask her is that for future plans, would he be able to have a permanent spot? Because if not, then the free parking for a year is useless because he's not going to buy it anyway, right?
Right.
Okay, so if there is parking on there, can you get it permanently? And if so, the second condition then it would work backwards, would be the right of first refusal if offered to sell, which I think she'd be okay with. She likes Chuck. Chuck seems like the guy she wants to sell it to. And then if that's also a yes, then the free parking for the year, which I know is a go because she's not going to touch a property for a year. She'd be totally okay with that. I'm sure. I'll just make sure I ask. So that's what it would be, and then assuming that all those are yeses, I want to throw in the a confidentiality clause for him not disclosing the sale.
Sure.
For at least 6 months.
Yeah, that's completely fine with us.
I'm sure it's gonna start. I don't see it. I mean, I don't know how to dial this down into actual terms, but like I'm sure people are gonna notice that his catering business is up anyways within
Right.
like the first 2 or 3 months. So I guess just say 3 months is fine.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you want that you can think of?
The only other thing is we're gonna need an answer, unfortunately, within the next 24 hours due to.
Oh, we'll get you an answer in 24 hours
Yeah.
because Van Patten's offer is getting pulled in the next 24 hours.
Okay, so we're both under time
Yeah,
constraints.
totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the best that we can do here.
That's fine. No, I get it.
I don't think either of us want to jump the gun without our clients here, without being able to discuss it with them. So,
Yeah.
if that's of interest to them, that'll be great. And otherwise, it sounds like we both have, plan Bs. So,
Okay, cool. Is there anything else that you think we're missing? Any other clauses of the contract, assuming it goes through? I'm just trying to make sure
yeah,
we
I'll
don't,
look over it one
we
more
don't
time.
miss anything. I just want to make sure I got my the criteria from my client. Yeah, 50 grand disclose. The deposit, and assuming it goes through, would a $15,000 deposit be
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be fine.
okay? So we'd also have the plus 15 deposit.
Yeah, which it's not quite clear. At least I have no facts at all besides that I would be working through Village Bank.
Okay.
And yeah, I agree. My knowledge of real estate transactions
Yeah.
is not sufficient to comment on whether
It's through.
that initial payment, is just something that happens like beforehand. I don't know why that would come out of pocket for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm confused about. Because it's going through the bank. Once it goes through, that money gets sent all the way to Amy. She gets it in full, and then you're just paying the bank on a loan.
Yeah, or maybe she's just not assuming that I'm taking any loans, and she's just assuming I'm paying out of pocket. And
Actually, I think the deposit might have just been for. Because I mean, we're representing our clients. We have the authority to go through with the deal, but ultimately, don't they need to sign it to come in? Did she want? And I don't know if that's why she was asking for the deposit to ensure the deal after we left here today.
yeah,
But for whatever reason, I guess we can just agree on the $15,000 deposit, which I think is assuming it's still coming from the bank itself.
yeah.
Okay, that's all the conditions. I'm trying to. Just give me just one more minute. I just want to make sure we're not missing anything. I can't think of anything. If anything else, that would be. So the only thing, let's talk about the sign. The only thing I just want to touch on the sign one more
Sure.
time. It seems that just to make it clear cut, the reason she wants no sign or a small sign, she doesn't want people to know if there's been action on the property, which just goes in the confidentiality clause. But she also has a preference of it taken away from what she claims is the ambiance of that portion of
Yeah.
the street. So I just want to make sure that Chuck knows, and you know, that you can tell Chuck that if this deal does go through and we can agree for the contingent parking on 232, that the sign thing is going to be like a permanent thing.
Yeah.
Like, so it's
3
not
by
like
2.
not like a 3x2 sign for a year or two. It's like it's never going to be bigger than 3x2.
Sure, that's fine.
Just so he knows, and that you know that we're all clear, because I think that was one of the things she expressed. So,
Yep, that would be, I think, fine with my client.
Okay.
And actually, Do you think that we'd be able to get some answers like within the next couple hours? Just because,
I'll make sure to, I'll put that in there, ask Amy about the sign size permanently, so you know. Is that what you were referring to?
The what?
Were you referring to the sign size as far as it being permanent?
No, I was just referring to everything because
Yeah,
it says here that
totally.
essentially, I mean, in my facts, it was essentially saying that either a deal is done at the meeting or it's not going to happen at all. But that doesn't seem consistent with some other stuff in my facts. So, I think as long as we get some answers in a couple hours, that would be great. If our clients can't be reached, I'd say then there's just nothing we can do.
We could do, so when we leave here, what do you want to say, like 5 hours? And if we can't reach our client, none of us can reach a client in 5 hours, and we'll take the Van Patten offer, and if we can, we agree to the terms, then we'll go through with it.
Yeah,
Like 5
apparently
hours.
we have about 24 hours stacked on our BATNA, so
Yeah, same here.
yeah. So I mean, I don't, but then it says if we don't do a deal here, it's over. But yeah, I think this is part of the deal. Let's just assume we were negotiating for 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, that's fine. And then she said that she wants me to get this done at the meeting. However, she says you have the full authority to settle this one for me. So I'm just taking that as I can settle it within the time period.
Okay.
So if we can reach that decision, then that's what the decision will go with. And if not, then we'll just go to the Batnets.
Yeah. So should we?
Okay.
Do we need to draft something up?
Yeah, let's just draft it up really quick because I think that's what Jazz message you need to send to the TAs.
Yeah.
Okay. Review
Yeah, I stop recording the thing.
clients.
And we are 58, 51.